Greetings, everyone. Thank you for attending Seattle University School of Law webinar series. Today, we're going to talk about keeping it real, and we will have a guest student giving her perspective on the program and Seattle University's online Master of Legal Studies in Compliance and Risk Management. I am hosting today. I'm Linda Heimer. I am Senior Director of all graduate law programs for Seattle University School of Law, regardless of modality. And when we say modality, I mean whether you're attending on campus or online. Unfortunately, in light of the current events and challenges the globe is facing, all of our students and programs have gone online, and all of the staff and faculty at Seattle University are working remotely. For that, I apologize for any technical or audio glitches or for the lack of compelling. Usually I have a nice bookshelf with a lot of legal books behind me, but I'm just screening off literally my apartment. But thank you for joining us today. At any time, if you do have follow-up questions after this webinar, on the slide at lawgraduateonline@seattleu.edu, or you can call our office line at 206-398-4268. Again, we are working remotely, but we are working, and I am here to answer any questions you may have. I won't be the only talking head today. We actually have a guest panelist, someone I consider, as all my students, a colleague, but one of our stellar students in this current program. And I just want to briefly introduce you to Margaret. Margaret, say hello.
Hello.
You have a wonderful background. What is the background that you're standing up against?
So I currently work for a public university in Washington State, and I have a couple years of experience in real estate and some in tourism. So under that, I've had to work under a couple of different regulatory industries, and that's where I came to love compliance, like I'm sure the rest of my cohort. And so I came into this program really wanting to get a solid background to be able to move forward in being able to become a better risk management professional and also hopefully advance my career.
Wonderful. And I know it's hard when you're working full-time and you're studying full-time, but what do you do in your free time?
I volunteer with the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. We're standing down right now because of COVID, but I'm a flotilla commander for the Elliott Bay flotilla.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. And we're going to get back to what we're hoping today is kind of modify, rather than just following a PowerPoint slide after PowerPoint slide. We thought we'd also use a little podcast model. So Margaret and I will be having a conversation. We don't mean to exclude anyone, but again, because of bandwidth and the number of attendees, we will hope that questions can be reserved till the end and you can type them in. And we apologize for having that limitation of not having a more intimate conversation with attendees. Okay, just briefly for our agenda today, we'll just briefly talk about why Seattle University's Master of Legal Studies. We're also going to discuss, because I think it's perfectly timed, unfortunately, our motto, Compliance with a Conscience. And we're going to talk more in depth about Margaret's experience with this program. Then I'll give a little background about how our program is designed and delivered. Then we will end with some next steps, key dates, and a question and answer period. So let's get started. Really, the Master of Legal Studies program, I tell prospective students, it's learning how to think like a lawyer without being a lawyer. And I also want to reiterate that this program does not prepare you to sit for a bar exam or to ever practice law. It's a Master's of Legal Studies. It does prepare you to take leadership roles in myriad organizations, whether they be government, private, publicly traded, across industries, where you can see issues and solve problems through a legal lens. And how do we do that? We do that by teaching you how to actively conduct legal research, legal reading, legal thinking, legal writing, and legal communicating. Now, when people hear legal, I don't mean to be contentious or litigious. What we're talking about is an opportunity for you to process information as the law and justice and policy has evolved in analyzing and the unique methods involved in legal writing, legal researching, and reading and communicating. Primarily, that involves questioning constantly the why, the what, the where, the when, the how come, and it allows you to be the person at the table in your company or in your organization where you are framing the issues and taking the perspective through the lens of the law. So it also enables you and prepares you to practice compliance and risk management with a conscience. And I wanted to, we had really thought about just having students present their experience in the program, what day in the life of a student, what their professors are like. But even when Margaret and I were talking about preparing for this presentation, our motto came up. The motto for this program is compliance with a conscience. And Margaret, I'm going to ask you to pipe in because I know you shared with me a little bit about that, both in your decision when you were starting the program and how it's impacted you now, if you'd like to jump in.
Sure. So for me, having had a couple of experiences in my professional life, and having seen the spectrum of responses that people take when they're, getting audited or having to face crises, um, it was very important to me that I find a place that didn't just teach us how to meet the requirements and how to satisfy that, but really taught us how to approach it from an angle that allowed us to, yes, set up a compliance program, but really gave us kind of the foundation to go above and beyond that, and really kind of the theory behind why we should be doing compliance. And yeah, it's going to save the company money, but how can we convince them that it's going to save you money, but it's also the right thing to do, and get everybody on board with that? So that was a big piece of it. And especially with all the stuff going on right now, a lot of conversations we've been having, you see all these workers that are, they're out of a job right now. And so what's, quote unquote, the right thing to do, or what should have been the right thing to do to have prevented certain things. And so these are the kind of interesting conversations we're having even in class right now, is just where should have compliance, been put in place to prevent things or to have had that safety net. And Linda, I'm not sure if I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Thank you. The compliance with a conscience moved you long before we had a pandemic. And really what we were thinking about more broadly, as you said, is sometimes compliance will save money because people might have the mindset of limiting penalties or avoiding fines. But sometimes compliance also means losing money. And your insight about right now, all of us as humans are being asked to comply with a conscience. There's no armed guards outside my apartment door in Seattle saying I can't leave. They're saying, please don't leave your apartment to protect your your fellow humans. And that's really, you know, have a conscience, realize that what we do impacts so many other people exponentially. And that's the same when it comes to organizational regulations, risk management, and assessment, that you don't just think about your bottom line or your strategic plan. You can have a broader impact. And over the long run, we have to be mindful of how those actions affect us. And I think many, we're based out of Seattle, even though this is a global program. Many of our industries here are global industries and have a global impact. And I think, Margaret, you would agree that some of our companies, such as Amazon, Microsoft, Google, might be setting excellent examples of compliance with conscience, and other industries, such in maybe aviation, hadn't set such a great example. Safety measures were cut maybe to save time or money, and people are harmed. Notice I didn't name the company, but again, this is what we mean, and this is the mindset we try to instill in our students and is infused throughout the program. And Margaret, how do you think we're doing so far in building that value?
Very great. I mean, it's been an awesome experience that way.
Good. So the Masters of Legal Studies is designed to be dynamic and respond to both industry demands, demands of our students, demands of potential employers, and of course, global demands. So we try to stay ahead of the curve, but as you know, sometimes circumstances move faster than we can. So agility is critical to be built both into our curriculum, instilled in our faculty, and instilled in our students. I also say that in training leaders, whether you are ever going to be a compliance officer or a risk manager or analyst, every leader has to be mindful and in many ways think about compliance and think about risk. Even if you don't have the title, that's the foundation of this program. And I think in a nutshell, I'd say it's critical for every leader to instill in their teams a sense of urgency without a sense of panic. And I think that statement also bodes well in our current environment. So how do we at least deliver the program? We deliver it fully online. We use Zoom like we're using now for some live classes, and that are usually offered 3 to 5 live classes per course per term. If you cannot attend, you have the benefit of the archive, but it's also a more interactive model in the Zoom meeting feature. But we require 30 credits to earn this master's degree. No GRE or entrance exam is required. The only minimum requirement is that you have earned a bachelor's degree at the time you start the program. It's designed to be offered part-time over a 2-year period, 6 terms total. That's 3 terms per year, fall, spring, and summer, with generous approximately 3 to 4 weeks in between each term to allow you to decompress and take some time off from school. And each term there are 2 courses for a total of 5 credits, and those courses are designed to complement each other to make sure you are gaining valuable knowledge, skills, and values and attributes. And you could see why you're learning it and how many theories and practice interconnect in this program. We also deliver it in what I see as phases of development. And the phases are really to give you first the foundation, then some operations practice. Then you're allowed to select a concentration. You're not required to select a concentration. You can take whatever electives you choose. And then the last phase is called action, where you actually show us through a capstone project that you have achieved the program outcomes, and you either create a scholarly paper, some type of report or presentation or project that you could also use for your employment advancement or portfolio for new employment opportunities, whatever your professional goals are. Here's an example of some of the courses that we do offer. The foundation and operations are required courses in our program, whereas later so the first year is really required courses. But as you can see, many of them are relevant to and useful from day one. And Margaret, I'm going to pipe in again. Where are you in your program?
So I'm in term 1, and we're coming up on towards the end of it. But I will echo. It's gone very fast. But I will echo that the legal analysis research and writing class, along with the intro to American legal system, have dovetailed so nicely because you will literally be.
Excuse me, Margaret, your microphone's kind of fading in and out, and I don't want to miss your insight.
I'll try to hold it closer. Those two classes have really connected very well because you'll be learning about one concept 1 week, and then you'll literally be putting it into practice in the other class at the same time. So you really see the back and forth, and you get the concept, the theory of it, and then you're actually getting the practice of putting it in there. And that's been great because we'll be working on something in one of the classes that I'm literally doing in my actual day job at work, but then also you're getting this exposure to all sorts of other areas of compliance that I hadn't even considered being an area of compliance or risk management before I started the program. So that's all been great too. Just because, outside of what you do in your daily work, you don't really have that exposure otherwise.
And speaking of that exposure, you want to speak a little bit to your colleagues in the classroom as far as exposure to other industries or perspectives that may have helped you both in your learning as well as in your current career?
Sure. There's, I think, just a wide variety between all of us. We've got a couple people that are in the healthcare profession or, very specialized healthcare devices. There's people that have a very niche profession, but we've also got some people that are completely changing their career path. So they've got, their undergrad degree and they're just looking to change their field. And so they came into it with no knowledge really of the legal system, and they're starting from scratch, and they've been very successful, and they have a really unique perspective to offer from their experience and their insight. And so it's been great because you have this kind of varied fabric, I'll say, in your weekly discussions, rather than just having everybody kind of have that same viewpoint, rehashing the same kind of opinions over and over again.
And that's an excellent point, that our program was designed for working professionals. And we did envision that many of the prospective students, as we've seen, many of our current students have been working in some level for many years. But as you have noted, some have just completed their bachelor's, or this is a brand new career area. And we try to adapt the learning to allow everyone to achieve the competencies. And some people who might not have that level of competency are still given the tools to succeed, whereas someone like you with more experience, maybe as you've noted in the real estate compliance area or in working with agencies, can still stay motivated and not get bored.
Most definitely.
And what about your professors? What have you found so far with the faculty members?
I've been really pleasantly surprised. They just, I've had probably more contact and interaction with them in an online environment than I probably ever had in my undergrad experience, which I don't know what I was expecting. I just wasn't expecting that. And then also, they ask for our feedback about the course itself and the coursework, and really take that to heart. And within the same week that we had provided feedback, they really kind of tailored changes to the actual course itself as much as they could. And so it's really kind of like a partnership that you form with them. not just with your classmates, but also with your professors.
Okay, and Margaret, I apologize to those attendees. And Margaret, I did turn off my video because of some bandwidth concerns. If anyone else is experiencing a bandwidth or you get a prompt that says some internet connectivity is low, that's a reason we turn off our video. So thank you, Margaret. That's extremely helpful. And then, the reality is when people are thinking about starting programs, sure, there's a reason we all want to be hopefully lifelong learners, but it comes at a cost, both in investment of time and investment of money and other resources. And can you talk a little bit about, how that helped, how you came to make your decision about seeking a degree, choosing us, and then choosing specifically this program?
Sure, I think it's one of those things that you've got to make that decision for yourself that it's really something that you want to invest in yourself. Obviously more education I think is always a great investment, but you've got to make sure you can make that happen. But I did a lot of research into the MLS programs that are out there. And as far as reputation, as far as quality of program, the writing program, especially with Seattle U, was just really far superior to the other ones that I found, especially online. And so value for the actual dollar that you're putting in, it's wonderful for this program. I also was not able to find any other program that really tailored a compliance risk management program in this way, where you get this really hands-on, tailored curriculum that really sets you up for this kind of success. There's other ones out there, but they're a lot more general, and I just feel like you get a lot more practical knowledge from this course and the way that they've designed it. So for me, that was really kind of the deciding factor. Also, I can just say the legal writing and research course is awesome, and it sets you up so well for the rest of the year and a half that you have left. And so that it's almost worth it right there. But yeah, so I did a lot of research before I decided on this one. So if you've already decided to make that leap, I think it's well worth what it's going to cost.
And when they make the leap, what does, how much time do you think you've been devoting weekly, or what does your, learning space and time frame look like?
Let's see. It depends on the week. So one of the things I like actually is there's like an overview for each module, and the professors will actually say how much time they expect the assignment to take you. I don't know that I always match that because once you get into it, I will spend like 3 hours researching a discussion question because I get really into it. So I probably spend more time than some people on that. But I would say 20 hours a week, possibly, on a week where we have a lot of reading. But it really just depends on how you kind of schedule yourself. So, before you start, just make sure that you've got that time in your life where you have kind of gotten rid of a lot of extracurricular stuff. But the cool part about being in an online program is, I previously commuted to work on the bus every day. So you've got Canvas and an app on your phone. So I'm watching lectures on my phone, or I'm, got a Kindle with some of the online reading. So those are 2 hours of my day where I'm, working on school, or you've got a lunch break. So you can kind of step away and, draft a discussion question response then. So if you have that flexibility, that works out really well. And then just kind of organizing yourself, because there's a pretty consistent schedule. And so you just know you've got certain things due on certain days, and just getting in that kind of routine, it really helps.
Thank you, Margaret. And I'll speak to the fact you are one of the top students, and now I know why. Because yeah, and I think that's an interesting point. We do break down every assignment or activity in the amount of estimated time it'll take a student. We tell students that it might take you a little bit longer or less, but it's also a guide to help you understand what amount of energy we want you to put into a task. And that's a reality even when we're working, that your supervisor may say, I need you to draft a memo for X or Y, and you drop everything and get no other project done. The supervisor may have said, no, I just meant, a couple hours of effort, not 2 weeks. So sometimes telling a student, spend about an hour on this or expect 10 hours on this, usually matches to the weight of whatever learning objective we have or the grade assigned to it, to help you gauge what kind of intensity you put into it. But it's a common experience I hear, Margaret, from other students too, where I read the article, but then it cited to other articles. And then I started arguing, one of the students, we got into a discussion forum, and before I knew it, and sometimes that's a joyous way of spending your time. We do estimate that in order to succeed, that students should allow at least 12 to 15 hours a week allocated in time, and plan accordingly. Anything else you'd like to add on that topic of time dedication or management?
No, like I said, I think just making sure that you're prepared before you start the term that was the best tip that anyone gave me before I started this program.
And this is a text-laden slide. I apologize, but really quickly, the fine print that I don't want to be fine print, but I can share with the details one-on-one. The tuition for the next academic year has been set at $1,247 per credit over 30 credits. Again, for every academic year, there is a possibility that tuition will increase. That's the base tuition. For eligible students, there is financial aid and other loans, and we have a stellar financial services team that can counsel you on that eligibility. But again, the program is set up to be part-time, fully online, 3 terms per year over a 2-year period. Unfortunately, we do not have it designed where you could come in and finish it in 6 months. We allow for flexibility, but this is designed as a cohort model where you go through with a set of colleagues, and each of the courses are designed, as Margaret has noted, to complement each other and then build competencies, introduce concepts, then reinforce them, and scaffold your learning as it goes. So again, that's part of the design feature that we have been it's an iterative process. Again, we ask our students, when a student says that took me too long, or we think you set the bar too high for something, we actually take that feedback and engage in a dynamic review process to make sure that all of the students have the tools to succeed and to stay challenged. It's not just about helping people achieve the basic requirements. It's to actually enjoy the learning. And one thing that brings me the most joy is when I check in on students as the director and the academic advisor, and someone emails back and says, it's really hard, but I'm having so much fun. And that tells me we're doing things right. Some things, we learn from, just like any. We are delivering a service, and we take seriously. The faculty that we select have decades of experience, both in online teaching and learning, and as practitioners and scholars. And we take our dedication very seriously, because we know the investment that you are putting into this, not just in tuition, but in your lives. And Margaret, I hope you feel that every day. And I think Margaret knows that if she doesn't, that she can call me directly and let me know.
For sure.
For sure. Well said. I think one of the great things is also Margaret is one of our online students and works full-time. She lives in Washington, but has also taken advantage of campus visits too. Margaret, you want to speak a little bit about some of the activities you've engaged in on campus?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of, I would say, perks. I have used the bus pass as a student, so that's been helpful. But there was also continuing legal education. They just had a cannabis symposium on campus that I was able to attend, and that was fascinating because subject matter is obviously fascinating, but it was just great to be able to come on the campus and be part of that community and um, it's great to see people every once in a while. I'm sure we're all feeling that right now. And, there's all these wonderful other opportunities. I'm part of, I think, the Racial Justice Book Club. So we're going to have our first discussion here next week, I believe. And so we all picked a book to read and we'll discuss that. So you're going to meet with students and faculty and staff members are all in groups for that. And there's just all sorts of different opportunities that just because you're an online student doesn't mean you can't get involved that way.
Thank you, Margaret. So next steps, apply now. I know a lot of our lives are disrupted but we have extended the application deadline until June 1st and may have to extend that again just to, again, accommodate the needs and demand of prospective students. But I would encourage you to apply now. We've waived any application fees. You apply through our electronic portal online through the website, and it just then gives you, usually the admissions team meets and normally there's a turnaround of an acceptance notice within 2 weeks of applying. We do ask for official transcripts. You do not need to have official transcripts submitted at the time of your application. Knowing that institutions across the country are on limited services or working remotely, we appreciate that there will be delays in requests for official transcripts. As long as we have official transcripts before you start your program, that's most critical. So you can submit your application. We will act upon and make a decision on your application, even if we do not have your official transcripts in hand. Also, if you have any questions about the academic program, about whether it's the right fit for you, your personal situation, or your professional goals, as well as for some financial aid or how to pay for this kind of program, you can always contact us. I would then connect you with team members. If I don't have the answer, I'll get it for you or I'll direct you to my qualified team members who can. We'll respond promptly to all of your inquiries, and hopefully on September 8th, so much of the trauma and drama and challenges that we are facing are behind us, and we can begin anew, stronger and better, and ready to be the next leaders in the compliance and risk management field, however that continues to evolve now and in the future. Right, Margaret?
Yeah.
Okay. I will see. I will now act as a moderator to see if there's any. I don't see any open questions, but I will leave it in a moment. My mouse is taking over. And see if anyone's typing out questions. And Margaret, in the event that students don't have a question right now in this forum and they really want to reflect a little bit, would you be willing if I got any questions from them about a follow-up to be able to respond to any questions that they may have?
Definitely.
Okay. I'm going to check again. I don't see questions. Up, here's one coming in. We have a question from one attendee, Andrea, and she asks, Margaret, what made you decide to get a Master of Legal Studies versus another master's degree?
For me, I think it was because I wanted really to go into the risk management and compliance field. Um, Having that legal background is really what I kept seeing pop up over and over again. You've always got regulatory stuff you're running into. You really have that ever changing, especially in the housing industry that I was in previously. City of Seattle laws, you've got state of Washington laws, federal HUD standards. So having that kind of tighter knowledge on legal stuff for me was really important. So that's really why I started looking at the Masters of Legal Studies degrees, and then found this program through that. So that's why I went that way versus a different sort of direction with that.
Yeah, and that's what I find too. A lot of inquiries I get is not as much, why this Seattle University's Master of Legal Studies versus another institution's Master of Legal Studies or Masters of Jurisprudence. A lot of times, people are wrestling with, I know I want a graduate education. Should I go with a traditional MBA, a Master of Business Administration, or Masters in Public Administration, or another Master of Science? What is it about this? And that's the most common field. It's about deciding what graduate degree to earn. And frankly, a Master's in Legal Studies is relatively new. So brand awareness is also a question. What does it get me? And really, we are defining it, and many of the students become the ambassadors for this. But I think the defining point was in our opening discussion today. It's you sit at a table, we've all sat in boardrooms or at team meetings, and oftentimes people with the business training background or the financial background are framing an issue and looking at a strategic planning or a business process through the lens of just a business mind, a profit and loss statement, the bottom line. Are we in the red? Are we in the black? Those are critical things. But you get to be the person who says, I see this a little bit differently. Let's look at it from this perspective. And you're able to, or if someone's saying, why do we have to have this regulation, and what were they thinking? You could be the person at the table who says, well, I understand what the legislatures were thinking or what the regulators were thinking. And, I'd be happy to write a letter back to the External Auditing Committee in the language that they speak and write in, and maybe help to change this, or help cross-functional teams come up with new policies, processes, and procedures. And those are the things that it's not just about from a business. You already might know your business, or you can learn the industry, but you're the value added, you're the person who adds that value from the legal lens. And not just lawyers. There is a legal department, but oftentimes lawyers are focused on limiting liability, legal liability, avoiding litigation, or responding to litigation and giving legal opinions. But in this role, you can liaise, you can interpret statutes to help in your business processes. And then also we train you from an ethical perspective to appreciate your scope of practice, and when you need to then connect and elevate it or walk across the hall to talk to the attorneys, the paralegals, or the legal department. And frankly, we do have students in this program now, master students who already have earned their law degree, either from Seattle School of Law or other institutions, and they come back because they realize they didn't want to actively practice law. They wanted to be in business and be officers in corporations or in agencies. And there's a gap in their knowledge because law school doesn't train you to be a compliance officer, or it doesn't train you to think of risk outside of legal risk. risk to reputation, industry risks, environmental risks, global pandemic risks, and how it impacts your employees, your strategic plans, your operations, your relationship with vendors, with customers. And that's what a Master of Legal Studies is designed to do. Margaret, you're nodding. Yeah.
Oh, I should also add too, I actually work with quite a few JDs that are not practicing, and then quite a few that also have an MBA. And so I did have that discussion with them too, before I started this program, and just had that conversation. And they have all said that their legal background has been invaluable. Their MBA, they probably could have lived without, just because you get so much
Sure.
business experience, as you progress in your career. But the legal side of negotiating contracts, or being in there and assessing the risk of a certain situation, is really what's gotten them through a lot of things. So for me personally, my supervisor was really excited to have me take this program, because he's like, you're just going to start thinking about things in such a different way, because I'm already the person that's like, this seems a little bit like, maybe we should think about this. And he's like, now you're going to have all this stuff to back up what you're saying when you come in here and say, well, this is why.
And that's another great example, Margaret, is you had a conversation with colleagues. So it's not just about us selling a product. I like to think we're low pressure. We're a boutique service. My team, we want to make sure that you engaged in the right due diligence, but we also encourage we encourage other prospective students to speak to their employers, to speak to their families, friends, colleagues, and say, hey, I'm about to take this adventure. I'm about to take this leap, as you describe it, because then you have that buy-in too. And Margaret, do you think, I know you're just ending your first term, but a lot of what you're learning, you've been able to then apply in the workplace, and it might even be saving you time and improving the quality of your work.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm probably a little different than some people. I know probably half of my cohort, I think, is working in an industry right now where they can apply it, which is great. I think honestly, the writing portion, anybody can apply, because
Sure.
it's just practical knowledge of becoming a better writer, more consistent and concise, which is a huge lesson for a lot of people. But yeah, I mean, I currently work in the contracts department. So for me, it's been invaluable, just really getting into that nitty gritty of what is a contract. And, I came in without that knowledge. So being able to really dig into that already has just improved, my legal drafting skills, my review skills, and being able to ask better questions of my team, so that I get better answers and just be able to learn better. And so that's been exciting for me. And then being able to take contracts next term was, something I'm really looking forward to as well.
Wonderful. Well, I don't see any other pending questions, probably because you did such a great job of hopefully anticipating the questions, you being in the shoes of many of the attendees today just a few short months ago. Margaret, I can look forward to having you continue in our program, continue to help out prospects, and be a firm supporter of the school. And we're doing the same for you. So thank you for your time today. Margaret, any closing observation?
Just if you guys have any questions you think of, please feel free to pass them on to Linda, and wish you guys the best of luck on your journey.
And again, on behalf of Seattle University School of Law and on behalf of Seattle, we sure hope that you and your loved ones all stay safe and healthy, and we wish you the best. Thank you so much for spending and giving us your time today. I'm going to end now.